Was it hard to walk away from football and move on to this next chapter of your life? Like, I'm always curious about that. Once you make that decision, and again, it's not like it was finite necessarily, but once you made that decision, was it difficult for you, or did you struggle with it a little bit?
I mean, I definitely struggled, even to this day, some days you just miss it. And you're like, man, you miss playing and you think back like of, how things, if this went that way, if that went that way, things may have been different. But I think through time, you sort of, the more action you take towards like your goals and new dreams, like you kind of I guess build the capacity to like move beyond the game and look forward to like future things that you have going on. And so, but I still miss it. Some days, I still miss playing. Even the game ended for me sort of. I was in the CFL at the time. Like after I played in the league, I kind of wasn't sure of my football future. Then I played for a startup league, the AAF. I don't know if like people remember what that is, but it didn't even last for like a whole season. I had a good time playing with my teammates and like it was a good experience, but it just was unfortunate how it ended. And then after that, I played in the CFL towards the end of 2019 for like 2 weeks. I was in the CFL, and then they signed me for the 2020 season. And I was like, looking forward to really like preparing for that 2020 year. That was like the big comeback year for me. And I wanted to, ball out in the CFL and get another opportunity to potentially play in the league. And so obviously the CFL season was canceled in 2020 because of COVID and everything. And then same thing in 2021. While it wasn't canceled, it was postponed like, a few months. So at that point in time, I just kind of knew like it made better sense for me to like move on officially from the game, because given my age and position, like I was 29 years old, I was running back, and I hadn't played in a game in quite some time, so it just made sense to like officially move on and pursue other things. So, that's kind of how my football journey ended. But I think now it's good to actually be like working towards something long term. And through my football career, it's just provided so much, opportunities for me to work in sports, like, through like the NFL Players Association and others internship opportunities. And so I just try to um, like take advantage of that and utilize my experience as a player to go and continue to work in sports and do stuff going forward.
Bishop, what does it mean to be seen as more than just a football player?
I think it means a lot. I think I don't know. I think it's just like it's important to know that athletes are just more than their sport. They're human beings who are capable of doing great things, not just in football, not just in their sport, but beyond that. And like I said, a lot of pro sports careers like end when the athletes are pretty young, like even the longest careers, like I mean, unless you're like Tom Brady or someone, play into like, like mid 40s and like probably could play till he's like 60 and still, still ball out. But most athletes they're done by like, early 30s at the latest. And so I think it's just important to recognize like, athletes are more than just their sport, and these skills and traits that they develop while being an athlete can be used and transferable in other professions and other interests and other passions that they have. And so I think it's just a challenge because like athletes, our schedules are so I guess rigid, like up into the end of our pro career, because like pretty much our entire identity is spent like trying to be the best athlete. And it's a year-round thing, around the clock. Even in the off season, we're always working towards like being the best athlete. And there's always like a timeline, preseason, off-season training, preseason preparation, in-season games and recovery. And you kind of just have to be on this sort of like upward trajectory since like the time you begin playing. And so I think like when the game's over, like it's hard to sort of even if you consciously like tell yourself like you're more than a football player or more than an athlete, like sort of you just feel a little off because your body and mind is so used to just like pouring so much into the game, and that's really your sole purpose, is like be the best athlete you can be, because that's what you've been doing forever. So I think it does take time. I think it takes time to become and grow and really, I guess, do things outside of your professional sport. But yeah, I think it's just important for athletes to be patient with themselves and just remain optimistic about the possibilities and start taking small steps towards like things outside of the game, and I guess to become more than an athlete and really, remember that you are more than an athlete and that you're capable of doing, whatever you put your mind to.
I love how you mentioned patience and small steps, because you're talking about that whole identity shift. Football, it's not who you are, it's what you do. In order to unravel all of that, once you move on, you 100% need patience, and you 110% need to take those small baby steps, over the course of a long period of time, to unwind that rigidity and that schedule and that life, that you once had.
Whatever your interests are, because people often try to like say it's hard to find their passion. Some people say, oh, I don't know what my passion is outside of playing the game, outside of my sport. But it's like whatever you maybe like have the slightest interest in, that may be like a sign that that's something that could turn into a passion if you just begin taking steps towards learning more about what it is you're interested in, look to gain experience in what you're interested in, and just grow in those areas. So I think that's something to remember as well as like a former athlete.
I love that, man. So much knowledge, dude. Bishop Sankey dropping knowledge here. He's now a Juris Doctor candidate. I always mess that up. My brother's a lawyer as well. And so I remember when he graduated from law school, I was like, Juris Doctor candidate at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. And when do you graduate, dude? When do you graduate from law school?
I graduate 2025. So that's when I'm scheduled to graduate. So I have 2 more years going into my second year, my 2L year, and I have my 2L year, 3L year. They say your 1L year is the hardest, so I'm hoping they're right. I'm hoping like the tough parts behind me, but I'm just excited to learn and continue to grow, and then hopefully looking to give back in the sports realm still when I'm when I'm through with law school.
I'm excited to see where this journey takes you, man. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear your story from the beginnings all the way to where we are now in law school, and shoot for the stars, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. I think, yeah, my journey's been good so far. I'm just looking to continue to grow and continue to, I'm doing the law school. I'm in law school now, so even with my internship this past summer, I've learned so much. And I was able to see sports from another vantage point, see it through like sort of like agreements and looking at different sponsorship agreements and stuff like that. So that's been cool to see, because sports is such like, everybody loves sports. I think it's such a big part of society. So for me, it's been good to explore the different areas of sports, like the business side, and then play as a player, and then like scouting and coaching, and kind of like connect the dots in that way. So it's been a really cool journey for me so far, and I'm looking to continue that going forward.
That is super cool that your internship with the Jacksonville Jaguars, how you're able to see the other side of it, because before you were a player, now you're more on the legal admin side. Could you imagine if you went to law school first and then you played in the NFL? You would you'd be negotiating the largest contracts, man.
Yeah, not even that, but just like learning, but also learning like about just the business side, like marketing, and just sort of like how to utilize your brand outside of the field or off the field. I think like having that knowledge and seeing it from this point of view would have helped me as a player. And just like you see, like it's not just like about like the athletes. That's a big part, is like being the best athlete you can become, but it's also about the experience, like the fan experience, and how athletes connect with fans. And I think a big way they do that is just through like the media and different ways that like different ways that fans can see the game and connect with athletes, even with like social media now, young fans connecting with athletes. And that's really what makes sports so great, is like it connects people, players and fans. And it's interesting to like be able to learn and see it from different vantage points, like how I'm doing now, and just seeing how it all works together. And ultimately, I think sports, it just connects all people from all different backgrounds, cultures, and it inspires people to just be great and be their best selves. Like as a kid, when I was a fan, I watched like athletes all the time, and I just like I was so inspired by what they did on the field and things that they learning about what they did off the field, and just like listening to little messages and commercials and stuff. So I think it's an important part of just the human experience in general. So it's cool to see sports like and how it works and see the different areas.